that basically criticized this program because, from the grounds that being criminalizing homeless, and homeless is, for most people, it's a situation that happens to them. So that's important to say. So I wanted to briefly touch some of the programs, and I wanted to talk about. So anybody here voted Republican? Oh, yes. 2002, the Bush administration spent about $70,000 million in a program called Samaritan Initiative. That program was geared towards 10-20% of the population, the chronically homeless population, and didn't quite address the whole perspective and all the issues that involve homelessness. And also, the funding was not enough. It was a 10-year initiative with the aims of eliminating homeless, and obviously it didn't work. Another program that is really popular, it was a Shelter Plus Care program, and this was a $20 million grant that was geared towards permanent housing. And this program, it shows a lot of potential. There's another program that also I think is very positive. It comes from a Proposition N, the CASH, the Care Not Cash program. And this program, what it's trying to do is to cut general assistance funding and move it towards housing. And I think that's what we need to move as looking for a solution. And for me, as basically to come to summarize what we need to do, I think that our goal is to find solutions that are going to be comprehensive and take care of some of the issues. Housing is a big issue. What the problem with drug addiction is a big issue. But some of these problems are related to the way the government and these programs are being implemented. When you have a program, when you're giving welfare to people, and people are getting all this money, and they say, well, I'm going to spend this money in drugs. And there's no other programs that attack other areas. That's a big problem. In San Francisco, I'm proposing a big initiative, and it comes from the St. Anthony's Foundation. This group of people, they're putting job programs for training people to go to job interviews, giving computer program training, all that kind of stuff. And also there's a group called Zendesk, and this is one of these technology groups in San Francisco. They're building these apps, and the aim, and you will say, well, homeless and apps phone, but we have found that a lot of the homeless population actually own phones. They have cheap phones, and maybe we can provide phones that are cheaper and affordable for these people. And what is going to give them some tools to keep them in touch to a lot of the programs and manage medical, food, shelter, and all the issues that the city is having.
Okay, thank you, Oscar. I don't mean to cut you off. I know you have a whole lot of information, a lot of passion about the city in general. But I just want to talk just briefly. We can ask any questions. Then we can kind of move on and get going to what we need to do, so we can reconvene here in about 6 months' time. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about this? Some really good ideas. I want to probably on a private level we'll talk some more about some of those programs that you mentioned. Does anybody have any questions for the mayor about any of these programs?
I think it's a really good idea.
I'm glad there's things in place, which is good.
There are things, yeah. How much did you say that we spend on?
Well, it's about $50 million a year, and some of the fund, like 10% is going towards health and mental institutions. All the funding goes to the housing and urban development. So it's a big expense for the city, and still we're coming short, we need more funding, and I think one of the things that we need to do, we need to press on our federal government to, ask for more funds. We need to write some grants. We need to insist, knock on their doors, because this is, San Francisco homeless is a big
It's a big issue.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think Mike would agree with you that we could probably use some more funding for some of these programs as well, clearly. Okay, so let's talk about really briefly, we talked about some conclusions here. I've recommended a work opportunity type of deal, looking for some more funding, like some stricter laws. I think we've kind of answered that question with the stricter laws. Seems that we have quite a few and they've had to be lightened up. But I think, well, let's take a quick vote. This Change for Change program sounds like a really good way to raise some money without necessarily going right to any sort of government and asking for, and maybe we can look into funding for the program. But let's take a quick vote. Does anybody think that this is something we should look into?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so let's move forward with that one. I think that that's a really good way
Like
good place to start. Good place to start. We can probably discuss, what kind of funding is going to be available for it, and then, I'll get together with you, and we'll discuss some of the, how we can kind of co-op together in terms of, you provide the housing and the food and that kind of thing, and I'll provide some sort of work training, that kind of deal. And, anything that you'd like, with working for Google and having your tech background kind of maybe help us get it out socially,
Yes.
Social media kind of
Social
thing
media.
would be a really good way for you to help. So, okay, well, that's about all the time we have. So, I think we've got a lot of things to do coming up, and so we've addressed some future action items, and we will reconvene in about 6 months or so. Okay. Thank you all.
Don't have any questions, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Where are you setting up your camera? Where are you setting up your camera? Okay. So mine over here.
I think Angela turned off for a little while.
Oh.
Yeah, I turned it back.